Keith's first time doing this, right,
Yeah.
man? Yes. So
Yeah.
we got Keith here, of course, Fear and Lil Vibe.
Don't burn me
Another
alive.
Saturday, another Saturday night. You know, the Vibing Out Show episode 2. So this is our second episode: history, mythology, and religion. You know,
Oh,
it's
oh,
this
oh.
is
Sorry.
this is what's
I'll be right back.
no, go ahead, you good. But I had an earlier discussion when I was live with Ricardo, and we talked a little bit about this. Let me ask you something, Keith. What makes you mad the most when somebody brings up religion? When somebody speaks about religion, what starts your ears twinkling?
Oh my gosh. How can I put it? Well, it's kind of several things, but the most thing would be when they try to tell me that they know that all is true. It can all be
Mm,
proven. Um, if the tree is there, God created it. Okay, well, can you prove to me
mm,
that He did? Can you show me anything to convince me? I mean, I basically I don't believe in God of the Bible
mm.
on the area of the deism. I do believe there's.
So, no, go ahead, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I do believe there. Like I like to say it, lack of a better word, a supernatural being or something that created everything and just walked away and let us to ourselves.
Okay. Because some people don't even call it gods or deities and stuff like that. They just call it, everybody picks their own different word. What about you, Vibe? What you think?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. As I was listening to Keith, I was thinking through mine, and I really did like your answer about the people that are straight literalists, or think one religion is the one religion to rule them all, and there's no room for anything else, and stuff like that. Just the closed mindedness, the dogma, um, following things that they can't even explain why they're doing it, but they just read it and they've been following it because their parents followed it. All the
Or
dog,
indoctrinated, right?
yeah, the indoctrination. That's the most frustrating thing because almost all the religions, and at least ones that I've studied and books and stuff that I've studied. It's really all about being the best version of yourself that you can be through all the
Yeah.
mythologies and struggles and everything like that. So, it's just all the other stuff that gets piled on top of it is just some other stuff.
Right.
Nah, you're right. That's what
Us.
I think. Like it's all about, being the best version, being as best that you can be, even for not just for yourself, but people around you in the environment that's around you too, not just, selfishness basically.
That kind of reminds me of philosophy of Satanism.
All right, nah, bring it up. Go ahead. What you mean?
What's that?
What you mean? What do you mean by that?
Oh, I know this one gentleman from the organization Rational Satanism. Sorry, and I got their books. I haven't read them yet.
Hmm.
I mean, I read Anton LaVey's the Satanic Bible, which is a little bit different than what I've seen from Rational Satanism. Their philosophy is basically is be yourself, be who you are, do the things, and they do not harm animals. They do not worship Satan per se. Um, I just think I'm not going to be a Satanist, but
Yeah.
that's a bad connotation. Everybody's kept that I think drilled into their head after a while that
Mhm.
it's evil and all that stuff. But I don't quite find it that way. But yeah, I think it's very interesting.
have
Yeah,
you have you read the Satanic Bible?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, okay.
yeah,
I'm just making sure because some people haven't.
that was
yeah.
one.
What was you gonna say, Lil Vibe?
No, I'll say yeah. I haven't read it, but it that is interesting. It reminds me of something that I watched an interview recently, and I posted it on X. You may know the author. His name is Mitch Horowitz. He's an esoteric historian who wrote Practical Magic is his new book, and modern.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that practical magic, right?
Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah.
But yeah, in there and in his interview, he was talking about how he traced the origin of Satan and the word. I think it comes from an Arabic word called Hasatan. And, originally it was seen as like an agitating force or a liberator, something that would strive against. And, the example he gave was like, when Adam and Eve were in the garden,
Mhm.
the snake was the one. There was essentially an aquarium or a zoo, like nothing. It was just complete bliss, comfort, right? But nothing was going on. So when the snake liberated them, in a sense, he gave them something to strive for and go into the world and create different things. So, yeah, but that's what I learned from Mitch Horowitz. So that makes me want to look into it more and the history of everything about it, because it's like you said, it's not really from what I've the little I've seen on it. It's like any other religion or mythology. It's about being the best version of yourself that you can be. It's not about all the other stuff people put on it. So
Yeah.
Hey, is this what you was talking about? This book right here?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's on
Uh,
archive.gov or
I got the
archive.org. I'm sorry.
actual. Yeah, I got the actual book.
Oh, look
Um,
here we go. Called the Black Pope by many of his followers, and that's who you're
yeah.
talking about right here. Okay. Just verify. I'm just verifying. Just verifying.
Um,
Well,
didn't it in a lot of times in the Bible it said thus Satan, meaning adversary and stuff like that, but it was not an actual being per se,
mhm.
or an entity. That's what I've come across for that.
yep.
Oh, what do you know? Was it Anton LaVey's son or grandson? I can't remember. Um, man, I can't remember. What I used to talk to him. And then one day he stopped talking or stopped replying. Here I found out he died and passed away. It's like,
Oh,
whoops. Okay.
damn. Damn.
Yeah.
Hey, so here we go. So this is interesting. So I typed in like what I like to do when I read, PDF files and stuff like that on computers. I like to hit Control F and they'll bring up a little box on the top, and I can type in keywords that I want to know things about if I want to do a quick scan. The one thing that I found out pretty interesting from this book that you're talking about, it says in love. Oh, here, hold up. It says right here. I don't know why it's doing. There we go. In LaVey's views, the devil was much more than that. Satan represented a dark, hidden force in nature that was responsible for the workings of earthly affairs, for which science and religion had no explanation and no control. Doesn't that sound like even today?
Yeah.
Pe-
Mhm.
Crazy
So who's
shit.
truly the adversary?
I think that can go multiple ways.
Right? So like the word
Depending on what.
Satan, like meaning adversary. Do you think that we're just using that as an adjective or just like a descriptive pattern that we've been like over the past, I don't know, however many centuries, rather than like taking it completely out of context and it just meaning like we said adversary in the first place? There and the whole dogma and religion thing, it was just like they needed the scapegoat, they needed the villain of the story and just created it from there.
Yeah. I'd say it could be that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That reminds me of something I read recently, another Mitch Horowitz book, Modern Occultism, and he was talking about, you all probably heard of it or seen it, the Knights Templar. I saw Eliphas Levi name come up in here too, and he has the the picture of Baphomet or whatever, the goat with the
Mhm.
different alchemical inscriptions and all that. And so they were saying that possibly that was a sign that the Knights Templar had used or something for their temples or their areas, and so they used
Yeah.
that to vilify them when they had got too much power after the Crusades. because the Knights Templar ended up being pretty powerful, and they had their own bank and everything. And
Started it all.
yeah, so they used that symbol to vilify them, and then they kind of converted that with the devil. You know, say they were worshiping like maybe it was because Baphomet is similar to like Muhammad and everything. So that's part of where that comes from, and that devil signature to that. So that's kind of some interesting history in there.
I was going to say, the gentleman I was trying to
Hey
think
guys,
of.
am I
You're here
Yeah, we could hear you.
and
Yeah,
see
he
it.
just froze now. Yeah, he just
Oh,
froze
yeah.
on us.
Yeah, I was reposting this space. I realized I hadn't posted it up yet.
I said that gentleman earlier. I was trying to think it was Anton's son or grandson, Stanton LaVey.
Mhm.
Yeah. For instance, I'm an honorary member of the Church of Satan.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
So this is the Bible that y'all follow then?
No. I said I'm a
Okay,
deist.
okay.
I'd like to expand my
Okay.
horizons and join these others to learn directly from them, which I think is a good way to do it. So no, I'm not. Like I said, I'm not a Satanist. I'm an
Yeah.
honorary member, which maybe entitles me to some extra stuff, a little bit news, information, and stuff. But no, I'm not a Satanist. I just like to associate myself with all various religions to learn more directly from them.
No, that's what I like too, because that comes up to my next point. It says Satanism has been frequently misrepresented as devil worship, when in fact it
Right.
constitutes a clear rejection of all forms of worship as a desirable component of the personality. It is not so much an anti-religion, a simple rebuttal of any one belief, as it is an unreligion and uncompromising dismissal of all insubstantial mysticism. So that's pretty interesting that it gives a.
It's like their philosophy I was talking about earlier.
Oh shoot! Hold on. I took
Uh-oh.
fear off by
There it is.
accident. I was looking. There we go. I'm trying to go back to because there's 218 things that relate to devil and evil. So
Yeah, that's
this is.
What?
huh.
But the hold on. I want to get a really good. Oh, here we go. This is actually a pretty interesting take on here. It says my magazine article was the beginning, not the end, as it has been with my other writing subjects. Of a long and intimate association, out of it came my biography, LaVey, the Devil's Avenger, published by Pyramid in 1974. After the books was published, I became a card-carrying member and subsequently a priest of the Church of Satan, a title I now proudly share with many celebrated persons. That's pretty interesting. And this, I was thinking about buying a book about Satanism, just to, I think I'm saying that right, Satanism. I want to get a book like that
Yeah.
just to know about the Bible on what they believe, because I heard that they actually it's not evil stuff in there. It's just things that some people don't agree with. Just like people don't agree in the Bible. I don't know exactly what it is because I haven't read it yet, but I definitely read the Bible. So
Hey, I got a question for, like, since we're on the Satanism and occultism part. I've never really personally known there to be any difference, but do you think that there's a difference between Satanism and Luciferianism?
That's a good question because I kind of been following that a little bit too on a separate chat that I talk with them once in a while, and then I haven't quite got their myself. I haven't quite got their philosophy down, but there is a difference between Luciferian and Satanism. That's about what I can tell you right now, myself personally.
Hmm.
Yep.
check this out, y'all. Evil in parentheses, right here. Evil in parentheses says themselves being at all times good in parentheses. Okay. Then it says the gods of the past have become as their own devils in order to live. Feebly, their ministers play the devil's game to fill their tabernacles and pay the mortgages on their temples. At last, too long have they studied righteousness. What does that sound like to y'all? And then it
That
goes on to say,
sounds like a tax-free religion to me.
So it's like a
Yep.
what?
Yep. You said an attack on religion, right?
Attack and a tax-free.
Taxer, yeah. Definitely.
Ponzi
let's see,
scheme.
let's
I'll take
see,
your donations. It'll help this grand building that means nothing.
Yeah, it does. It boggles my mind that how we could have all these mega churches and stuff, and it's just people on the street right outside all these big churches. You know, like we got a ton of them here in Oklahoma. Y'all probably have a ton of them where y'all at too. And you
Yep.
just see these massive, you know, and they're closed on the weekends, right? They're closed most of the time, but you got people on the street. They won't, you know, they could be letting them in there. That's what Jesus would do.
Yep, you
So
got people like Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, Joy, whatever the frig her name is, like those. Yeah, I can't stand them. Like Benny Hinn and yeah, the only one,
Benny Hinn.
the only one person that I respected, still to this day, whether he was twisted or not, because he didn't have his own megachurch, Billy Graham. I got saved at a Billy Graham crusade when I was a young teenager. And like right when Erickson Stadium, Erickson Stadium, North Carolina was just built. Probably like 3 months after the Billy Graham Crusade came through there, my mom took me, and it was a wonderful experience. I mean, like he preached wherever his feet took him, and that tent went. You know, like there was no mega church; it was just the people went to him. So I
yeah,
respect
Megatent?
him for that.
Hey, let me
God
see.
rest
Let me
his
try
soul.
something real quick. Hey, let me try something and see if y'all can hear this for a second. Tell me if you can hear this. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. It's not. It's loading up. I don't know why it's taking long. It usually don't take this long. Hold up. All right, it ain't gonna work. I don't think. Let me see.
oh, you're
Okay.
doing a speech.
Well,
Yeah,
to
I'm
get
trying to do
like,
this read aloud.
Yeah,
Billy, he never had the big mega churches, the build that did absolutely nothing, and like it wasn't a huge money scheme, not at all. And he built all
that's
of it,
dope.
what it was before he passed away, and like he left his legacy for his children, and like his children that you follow in his footsteps. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And they,
That
yeah,
I don't
happens a
even think
lot.
they have mega churches.
What
damn,
is
I don't.
that's
his son's name? It
Uh,
escapes me right now.
hold on, mom. Hey, hey.
damn. This thing ain't
Billy.
working.
Wasn't his name Billy too?
No.
Wasn't it like Billy? I don't know. I could be wrong. What was his kid's name? Like, do you remember any of them? Remember what? Any of Billy Graham's children's names?
Damn. I don't know why it ain't working, man. I wish it was, man. So let me just say this. So this is what it says. It says the Roman god Lucifer was the bearer of light, the spirit of the air, the personification of enlightenment. In Christian mythology, he became synonymous with evil, which was only to have been expected from a religion whose very existence is perpetrated by clouded definitions and bogus values. It is time to set the record straight. So this is supposed to be the record straight of Lucifer. False moralisms and occult inaccuracies must be corrected. Entertaining as they might be, most stories and plays about devil worship must be recognized as the obsolete absurdities they are. It has been said the truth will make men free. The truth alone has never set anyone free. It is only doubt which will bring mental emancipation. Without the wonderful element of doubt, the doorway through the which truth passes will be tightly shut, impervious to the most strenuous poundings of 1,000 Lucifers. How understandable that Holy Scripture should be referred to the infernal monarch as the father of lies, a magnificent example of character inversion. The devil. So this is what it says about the devil. This is crazy because this makes it's just hold up. So this
Hey,
shit screen popped
hey,
up.
I got Billy Graham's children's names. It's Franklin, Anne, Ned, Gigi, and Ruth. All of
Yes,
his kids.
great.
I don't know why I was thinking
That's
Billy Jr. I don't know why, but
Sad Franklin looks damn near like a.
look,
But
look,
see here
look,
we go. Look at
look, spitting image of him too.
That's exactly what I'm
that's
saying.
crazy. So check this out. So this is what it says at the end of it. If one is to believe this theological accusation that the devil represents falsehood, then it surely must be concurred that it was he, not God, that established all spiritual religions, and he and who wrote all of them, holy Bibles. Then it gives you this. I don't even know
Plural?
what that is right there.
Was that plural?
Huh?
Bibles?
I don't know what that is. Yeah, Bibles. Yeah, Bibles. Mm.
Okay, I can't read it 'cause I had to switch platforms. My computer froze, so I'm on my phone and I got like a micro screen right now, and I can barely hear
Yeah.
Oh,
y'all.
you.
But
Oh,
yeah, so I can't read it, or like I can barely hear y'all. But yeah, just making sure I heard that correctly. Thank you.
Now listen, this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, this is why I like technology, because if you know how to use technology, you don't have to. Um, I mean, I read everything, but once you read something and you start taking notes and you start doing it, when you have something digitally, it's very easy to go back and find key points, especially when you're taking a lot of notes. So in this book right here, because I went to the book like he said, I went to archive.org, went to the book that you talked about, Keith, and I hit Control F so that way I can hit in whatever keynotes I said. So I typed in evil, right, just to see everything that talks about evil in the book, right? If I want to know everything that talks about evil in this book, all I got to do is hit Control F, and I can read everything that talks about evil in the book, right? Because every time the word evil is said, it's going to pick up those things in the digital world. It's the same thing if I hit God.
Yeah,
After
that's
this, I'm
pretty
going to do
amazing.
God. And then I'm gonna show you how I do my research. This is why I'm so quick on
Yeah.
picking up on shit. And when people try to come at me, I'll be like, man, you can't come at me. I'm already three steps ahead of you, bro. Let's keep going. Let's go. What you say? Let's go. But anyway, this is what it says. Check it out. It says anyone who thinks of Satan as evil should consider all the men, women, children, and animals who have died because it was God's will. Isn't death evil, or is that considered something
Yeah.
evil? Is that so death is considered evil?
Oh, I didn't see it that way.
Well, then
Well,
there's that whole, then there's that whole, God approach of like, I love you so much, I'm gonna let you suffer and get you killed.
yeah, I know
But
what's
see,
going to happen to you, so I'm going to give you free will.
but see,
Right.
that's like what I was looking at, like the suffering part. Somebody said, somebody put up a question. They said, why do we put down our animals to keep them from suffering, but leave our elderly to die in homes and just deteriorate?
Yeah,
What y'all think
that's a
about
good
that?
question.
Repeat the question.
Okay, maybe I didn't say it right. Maybe I messed it up. Okay, the guy, or I don't know if it was a guy, somebody had just posted it. The person said, why do we put down animals so they don't suffer, but keep the elderly alive to suffer, to die in homes away from family and by themselves?
Do
Wow.
we eat our
It-
elderly?
do you eat
That
your dog?
What?
That's my only rebuttal. I'll answer that question with the question: do we eat our
So,
elderly?
do you eat dog?
I like if you've ever eaten some backyard Chinese food, you probably have. So like there would
Hell no,
be,
I ain't never.
and there's
See.
also a report. Did you know years ago that there was a report that they used actual dog meat as bacon meat?
Let me tell you,
No joke.
I ain't never ate no goddamn bacon meat. No
Red
damn
Rover,
dog bacon meat.
Fido.
No, but the question is you're looking at it from from that kind of a perspective. But the point is that people love their animals to the point where they don't even want them to suffer. They can't see them suffer. They don't allow them to suffer. They won't even they can't even sit there and take it in that they're suffering. Right?
Okay, well,
That's why they let them go as fast.
in that aspect, well, there because of human construct and what the human brain thinks, the laws were created, procedures, policies, morals of like, oh no, we just let them, we don't want to totally like put them out to pasture so that you can put them in a nursing home, but so we don't have to put them down. However, they're like in other countries, the elderly, if they're not living a quality life, they can go to certain doctors and say, hey, I just want to end it, and that like that's euthanization or like putting them to sleep or like easily or just taking them out. But over here we have laws against that. So that right there would be my answer is we have laws against just putting our elderly to sleep because it's the merciful thing to do. Don't let them suffer.
Mhm. No, that's a good point. But my point was just, that it's not frowned upon to put down your animal. You know what I mean? If somebody elderly asks that said, "Hey, I don't want to suffer anymore," inject me with something so I can go to sleep peacefully. Why can't I choose the way I want to go? Now I understand the people that don't have that opportunity to make that decision, right? For whatever reason that could be. But the ones that do have that decision, right? Somebody who may be passing away from cancer, or somebody that, lost all their arms and legs and just doesn't want to just sit there like a piece of meat for everybody's entertainment, but everybody has a problem with them, because everybody, no matter how much people we might see look at somebody that likes to take care of them, we don't know when the closed doors are closed and this motherfucker's in the room like, damn, I hate doing this shit, man. Like, what I'm saying? And both parties can come to an agreement to say, look, I know it's hard on you. It is hard on me. My decision, I would like to let this go just to be easier. It might hurt everybody for a moment, but the decision should be made there. And that was the point that I got from that person that posted it, is that people they can't watch their uh, pets, just suffer, and that's
Oh,
why a lot of people, and in the comments, people were saying, well, we allowed them to stay in nursing homes. Well, you still don't sit there and allow yourself to watch them suffer because you're not there anymore. It was in the times where the elderly died in the home. It didn't matter where else they went. You know what I'm saying? They died in the home. And and it was the family home. The home was passed on. We don't pass on homes like we used to back in the day, and land for that matter. None of the land that we own today is ours in the first place. Once we
right.
stop paying property tax and whatever, or when we die, it doesn't even matter. The home is never going to be a home. I hate to say this, and maybe I might be biting my tongue, and maybe I'm ignorant on the subject more, but I don't think passing homes on to children is a good thing. I think passing the value of that home, the money that is made off that home, is better than that, especially when you can invest that in something else. You know,
Well, if my kids
uh,
didn't have a place, if my children didn't have a place to live, and they weren't like almost even near ready of like having a place of their own, yeah, I'd leave the house to them. But just like you, fuck that, like leave them the money because they're gonna have to pay land taxes, tax on
yeah,
this, like they're just
or
inheriting a whole
something
bunch of
might
bullshit,
happen to it. I
right?
got a neighbor right now, man, and we had a really, really, really bad storm come through. I mean, a really bad storm come through, and it tore up a lot of roofs and stuff like that. Well, about 2 years prior to that, I had already redid my roof, and I only had to pay a small deductible for a home, right? So it wasn't much. When that storm came through, it tore up his roof really bad, and his roof was leaking and stuff. He said he had to pay just $8,000 in deductible just for them to even fix it. and his normal deductible was only 1,000. Yeah, his normal deductible was only 1,000 because you have like a choice between 500 or 1,000 or something like that. And the
Yeah.
higher the deductible is, the less the
Cheaper.
payment is. Yeah, when he said it's because of the storm. And I don't know if y'all remember when FEMA was going through, when FEMA starts giving people money, their insurance rate the deductible is really high. And they
Yep.
take that money to fix your house for you for free. So they pocket your stuff. I'm telling you, it was crazy when he was telling me that because he was mad. He was like, he asked me,
Insurance
he came outside, he said,
in the hand.
yeah, he came outside, he asked me, he said, hey man, I was just wondering, I know 2 years ago you went and got your roof done. Can you tell me how much you pay for your deductible? And I was like, yeah, man, I don't mind. I paid about this much, right? And he was like, oh, damn, man. He said, my damn people told me 8,000, and I'm not even kidding, $8,000. $8,000
That's
How
crazy.
big
during the
was his
storm.
house?
It's the same size as mine. Mine was nowhere, man. Mine is the same amount that I paid a deductible for my car. So that should tell
I'll
you I'm
say,
not paying eight
I'm not
thousand
sure.
dollars.
I got slate roof.
It's crazy because the way everything happens, everything is by monetary gains,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's why is with church and everything, the tithes. So I was just watching a video where they had a credit card scanner in a church just going through it, and I was just like, dang boy, that's crazy. I was like, man, that's that. I said, now that's really crazy because now they taking more than what's actually in the thing, because some people are going to subscribe.
Yeah.
I'll pay $60 or $3,000 for the year. Rich people would do some shit
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. A credit card reader. You mean no more
Okay,
tapping slate?
hey, so how do you say this word? Yezidis. 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 Just hold on, let's see.
Yazidis?
Yeah, Yezidis. I don't know. So the
Yes, it is.
Yezidis they're a sect of devil worshippers that basically take a different viewpoint. They believe that God is all powerful, but also all forgiving, and so accordingly feel that it is the devil who they must please, as he is the one who rules their lives while here on earth. Now think about that. If God is all forgiving, then you can do something and be um forgiven for it. But certain gods in that Bible, or at least the one that's in what you was mentioning earlier, Keith, about the King James version, the God in there was not a forgiving God.
Oh hell no. Well, the thing
So
is, if he's an all forgiving God, what's the day of judgment about? It's kind of a, I don't know, oxymoron thing or whatever. It just that quite baffles me a little bit.
I think that's more of a day where you judge yourself. Like when you
Judge
pass
yourself.
on, I think that time of judgment is where you more judge yourself. Like, do you think that you touched someone's heart? Do you think you brought joy? Do you think you lived a shitty life? Did you hurt someone? What kind of life did you live? I think that's we
Okay.
ultimately are the judges at that point. Everything else are the day of judgment of like Armageddon, fucking sky's gonna rain
Right.
fire. That's just all construct.
Yeah, it could have been on John Devine. Could he been on some drugs,
Oh yeah, that's what we had.
LSD or something?
Yeah, that's what Nathan was saying. We had a guy on a couple weeks ago, and we were talking to Nathan, and he was telling us about that. He was saying they were on all the myrrh, frankincense, and cannabis and stuff, of course, and some
Yep.
other things like mushrooms. Is all you meet a rebirth. He said they were on the amanita
yeah,
mushroom.
Nathan. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Nathan.
Oh,
Hmm.
it's a natural thing. God made it, so it's good to go.
It's the nerve of the earth. Literally, it's like
It's the,
it's the nerve brain of the earth. The fungus, the fungi. Like it's all networked together. If they, for some reason, like you can stick a bunch of different species of mushrooms together and they'll all communicate.
Mm.
Is that like in that movie Avatar?
Kind of like that.
Yeah, I find that an interesting concept right there too, where they can all communicate, or everything communicates, or it's all together and it's one. Pretty cool. Not sure if I got that yet.
Man, this
Uh,
thing is interesting, man. So
yeah, it's
Satan
been
is the prince of the evil. So he's the prince of evil. So that's what it says right here.
Yep.
It says Satan leads to temptation. Satan is the prince of evil. Satan is vicious. Satan is cruel if they warn. So let's read what it says in the beginning. Because because this is where I say context. If I was just to read that part, there would be no context to it, right? So let's see what the context is. It says Atten has certainly been the best friend the church has ever had, as he has kept in business all these years. The false doctrine of the hell and the devil has allowed the Protestant and Catholic churches to flourish far too long without a devil to point their fingers. I don't know why that's cut out, but it says to point their fingers at religionists of the right hand and path, and would have nothing with which threaten their followers. Then it says in parentheses, Satan leads to a temptation. Satan is the prince of evil. Satan is vicious, cruel, brutal. They warn. That's what they says. They warn. Right. But people will cut that off easy and say, I read the Satanic Bible, and guess what it says in there? It says Satan leads to you to temptation. It says Satan is the prince of evil. And leave it right there and stop right there. And you know what? They will be 100% right? But they won't tell you that they're trying to tell you what these people are saying is incorrect. They're telling you what people are already saying about them. They're acknowledging that, right? They're already acknowledging it. They're saying they warn. That's why they didn't say Satan is vicious. They'll probably even say Satan is vicious and Satan and cruel and brutal, or they won't even say that. But they damn sure won't say they warn, because that's what they're going to say is who's they that's warning it. Well, it's the Protestants and the Catholic Church people that's warning them. But like I said, to make my point about just because you read a book and you say something doesn't mean it's right, because I can clearly
Right.
go into any space right now and say, this book, this devil satanic Bible says Satan leads to you to temptation. Satan is the prince of evil. Satan is vicious, cruel, and brutal. And I'll stop right there and be 100% right. But see me, the other me, the jackass me, would be like, well, guess what, Rebirth, you fucking idiot. It definitely says right after that, they warn. So what the fuck are you talking about? And then people would be like, why are you being an asshole? And I'll be like, why are you letting this dude be an asshole to you and lie and only tell you half the fucking story? Why didn't they finish the whole sentence? Why are you being mean? Well, you don't have to talk to people like that. So you're more mad at me for telling somebody who's a fucking liar that they're an idiot and stupid and an asshole and that jackass and whatever the fuck I want to call them, a dumbass and all that other stuff. You're mad at me because I'm saying that, but you're not mad at them for telling you a half a story and lying to you.
Yeah.
Riddle me that.
Almost
You
like
know
they
what I
want
mean?
you.
Riddle me that.
Only
Yeah,
say
just
what's
riddle me
good.
that. Yeah,
That's what
exactly. And I'm just like,
that's what they're expecting you to do. Satan, get away from me.
But that's my point, though, because it goes on and it says, if you give in to the temptations of the devil, you will surely suffer eternal damnation, roast in hell. That's even more, right? Right after, right? So they're still warning more parts after that. The semantic meaning of Satan is the adversary or opposition or the accuser. The very word devil comes from the Indian Devi, which means God. Satan represents opposition to religions, which serve to frustrate and condemn man for his natural instincts. He has been given an evil role simply because he represents the carnal, earthly, and mundane aspects of life.
Yeah,
Now tell me
even in
what's
biblical
anything wrong with
scriptures,
that?
even in biblical scriptures, it said even Jesus said that Satan is the god of this world.
Is that why
Yeah, but
when he tempted him 40 days or in the desert, I'll give you all these kingdoms. Just worship me.
Well,
see
He
here
gave
it
him
gets.
all of them.
But see now it
go
gets
ahead.
even more interesting. It says Satan, the chief devil of the Western world, was originally an angel whose duty was to report human delinquencies to God. It was not until the 14th century that he began to be depicted as evil deity who was part man and part animal. So he was just basically a snitch at first. He was snitching to the feds, and God was the feds.
Yeah, but didn't he fall? Didn't he fall?
So everybody
From a
started
fallen
hating
angel?
him for that.
Lucifer.
So
That's
everybody hated
Lucifer.
him for that.
Didn't he rule
No,
the
it
fallen
says,
angels before created man, before Genesis? Didn't that happen before that?
well, it says before he wasn't depicted as an evil deity until the 14th century.
Okay.
So now you got to look at the time frame of what you know and compare it to the 14th century. I don't know because I don't know the numbers, but that is a good, interesting pointing. Anybody that's watching that could probably verify that for us, or even if
Yeah.
you remember that. But yeah, he was a fallen angel. But when did it say he was a fallen angel? What was the time frame? Right?
I thought it was before he created the world, or before Genesis. I thought,
Yeah, but when was Genesis recorded? There's nobody has a clear date for that.
according to most literalists, 6,000
Let's
years
see. Let's
ago.
see. Let's see. When was Genesis? Let's get an accurate Chat GPT
Okay.
date since everybody likes Chat GPT. When was Genesis recorded? Let's see. Okay. It says 10th to the 16th century BCE.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
Now let's see. When was Satan first recorded as a fallen angel? Let's see what it says. It says Book of Job, the early mentions not yet fallen. Yep. Book of
Say it
Job,
again.
6th century BCE. Satan appears as Hasatan, literally the accuser, adversary, part of God's divine counsel. And let's see. So that's interesting.
Wait. So
You know what? Let me do. You know what I want to do? I want to do something better. I want to show you something that what I do. How I do. Let's see. How can I? Hold on. Oops. Oh dang! I closed it out by accident. Let me, I want to show you another way how I do things. So let's go right here. Hold on.
oh, you made the rebirth?
No, I'm trying to copy and paste this right quick. I'm about to show you guys what I do when I read something on a PDF or something like that. So I just copied and pasted what it said on that thing about Satan, the chief of devil, and stuff like that. So this is how I do some of my comparative quick studies. Like if I'm trying to do a real quick comparative study on something, I'll say, is this accurate? Right, just to see, right? And I typed in what it says, and this is what it gave me as a summary. It says the summary is mostly accurate. So this is what it says is mostly accurate. This is what I said, and this was copy pasted from the Bible. Is Satan, the chief devil of the Western world, was originally an angel whose duty was to report human delinquencies to God. It was not until the 14th century that he began to be depicted as an evil deity who was part man and part animal, with goat-like horns and hooves. Before Christianity gave him the names of Satan, Lucifer, etc., the carnal side of man's nature was governed by the God which was then called Dionysus. And then it just goes on, who he was. But basically, it says right here, the accurate points was Satan as heavenly figure, not initially evil. So yes, in Job and also in Zechariah 3, Hassan acts as an accuser, not an enemy of God. He's part of the divine court, a role, not a name, right? So a role, not a name. Then it says, 14th century depictions. It was not until the 14th century that he began to be depicted as an evil deity, part man and part animal. Now, this is just a quick research. Of course, if I wanted to do my due diligence, I will go more in depth and ask it. And I will say after this, give me sources. And this is how I do my research on a quick scale, right? When I'm in the middle of spaces or having discussions with people, I say, oh, this is what I know, because I know the different elements of Satan and stuff like that. So it says, by the late Middle Ages, Satan's image had morphed into a grotesque creature, horns, cloven hooves, tails, a mashup of pagan imagery like Pan and Satyrs, and Christian fear artists and theologians crystallized the demonic archetype during the 13th to 15th centuries. And then it says, before Christianity, the carnal side of man's nature was governed by the God. Okay, I'm not even going to get into that one. Okay, so minor clarifications. The name Lucifer came from the Latin translations of Isaiah 14, and its later association with Satan was made by Christian writers, especially after the 2nd century CE. Then it says the transformation of Satan into a chief devil figure was a gradual process, which we do know was a gradual process that intensified in the early Christian centuries and peaked during the medieval period, especially with the works like Dante's Inferno, 14th century, and the Mid's Paradise, 17th century. And then it says a summary, your quote captures broad strokes very well, and it tells you, Satan evolved from a heavily accuser into an evil deity. So that when you talk about a fallen angel, that doesn't mean that he fell like from the sky to earth. That can just mean that he fell from his hierarchy, right? Like he was once probably a captain in the United States Army and then got busted down to a lieutenant, right? Or you was the head fry cook at McDonald's and now your ass is at the cashier, or however you want to look at it, right? So that can be like a fallen, that can be looked at as a fallen thing. And then the horns and hooves imagery was present in the Bible, but came from medieval Christian demonization of older traditions. Now, what's interesting about that is that who was it? Moses, I believe, said that he was depicted with horns also.
Oh, damn.
And I think, yeah, I think. Let me type that in. Was Moses? Because I'm pretty sure depicted as having horns. I
But
think it
isn't
was
that
because
just
like a crown or yeah, see, it was like crowns. And this is something that I've read. This I didn't even have to chat GPT this before. Yes, Moses was famously depicted with horns, especially in medieval and Renaissance Christian art. And it all stems from a translation of misunderstanding. And that's where I learned it from. It was from this word, his face shone, had raised horns of light. The word Kawan or Kuan, that's what people will say, Karan, comes from the root that can mean to shine or to have horns, depending on context. And that's why people say Moses had it, because he had that, his face was bright, it was shining. You know what I'm saying? But then some people say that he was horns. But then if you go, was it when he was talking to the burning bush? Some people say it wasn't the burning bush; it was a burning stone. And let me type that in there too, because this is what I read. Is it stone versus burning bush? Moses. This is why ChatGPT can be really good. If you know your shit, you can type in exactly
yeah.
what. But it can also be bad too. It says, nice comparison. Moses in the stone tablets, Moses in the burning bush, two iconic moments. But they represent very different roles, which I definitely read. And it gives, let's see. Oh man, I wanted to put it in paragraph form. I don't want to do all that. I hate when it does that, when it tries to break it down crazy. Just put it in paragraph form for me.
Yeah, but isn't the description of Satan or of Lucifer been distorted over time to give you that visual image of the horns and stuff like that? I mean, that's the way I understand it. I mean, because I don't think God would create an angel with part goat, part part man. That just sounds weird.
Yeah, it does. The thing is that the translations is what makes it different for me. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, here we go. we know that Moses had a miraculous fire within a living bush. That there was God. That's where you get the "I am where I am," and it says the word "Sinai," which literally means bush, especially a bramble or thorny bush or shrub. I do know about that. But then it says, in some older or more poetic interpretations, the word for bush might be viewed allegorically. A few have even linked the burning bush to certain types of red hue stones like jasper or cornelian, perhaps due to the association with fire and glow. And that's what some people say he was talking to too. Like he was goofed, like some people would say he was high off of pharmaceuticals, or not pharmaceuticals, paraffin, some
Herbs.
type of paraffin, yeah, some type of herbs or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I've
And
heard that brought up. Red
yeah,
stones mistaken for a burning bush.
but see, that's just basic stuff. Like I type, like if I'm interested,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna go back to this satanic Bible. Like if I find something interesting in there, and I want to do some. Oh yeah, let me go back to it real quick because I almost forgot. Hold on. So let me see. Give me an accurate source for this. So this is what I would tell it, right? I would tell it, give me an accurate source for this, right? Of course, it'll say searching the web, blah 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 blah, and it'll tell me, the Exodus and stuff right here, and it gives me two sources right here. And then it's the Torah, and then it gives me wiki. So let's click on Torah real quick. Let's see what this website brings. Yeah, wiki. I think wiki is actually pretty good if people ask me. But here's the Torah, right? This is where some of the information comes from right here. Hold on, look, check this out. Right now, this is by a Professor Rabbi Rachel Adalman, and he wrote an article on it, and he gives you what he wants. Now let's see something. God right here, perfect, perfect. God, God angels, God's angel appears in the form of fire and sneh. Commonly translated as bush, so they spelt it different here, of course, because remember it was Seneh, I believe it was. But anyway, likely a blackberry bramble, and it gives the name Rubus sanctus. While the scene is miraculous, the bush remains unconsumed by fire as a plant. The bush itself will eventually wither and die. Unlike stones that might form a monumental or an altar permanently marked spot, the bush's ephemeral, no man made trace of this site will remain. So it couldn't have been a stone, right? Now, um, but this is interesting why what people say from that, because if I wanted an accurate information about anything that I read, I can just go here and be like, okay, look, I can click on the dude's name, or I'm tripping, dude, my bad, woman. I didn't know if I was saying the name right or
Rachel.
not, but yeah, I didn't know if I was saying the name right or not. I was reading too fast.
Yeah, you did
Um,
say Rochelle, didn't you?
yeah. So
Woman rabbi?
yeah, that's not normal.
No.
That's not normal. That's not something that's actually known. That's interesting. I learned something today.
Yeah.
See?
Uh,
See how
that's a
you
new
learn
one.
things by just using the right information, trying to figure things out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting here because I thought the
And
Jews were
Hebrew
staunch.
college too.
Yeah, we're staunch on women were basically treated as second class citizens.
Look, here we go. Look, the violation of Jerusalem. Look and see, a sexually assaulted Jerusalem resists being blamed and shamed by Lamentations, male narrator, and demands. These are books, articles by her.
Hmm. That's so
So
that still catches me off
now,
guard.
oh, here we go. Yeah, that's the one I just had right here. Why must
Oh,
Moses remove his shoes? Look,
holy ground. So what?
why did Mordecai not bow down to Haman? So here we go. I want to tell you how I get some of my interviews from people. I come to places like this and just submit stuff and wait for them to contact me. But that's interesting to know that there's a female. I never knew that female rabbi. So let me see something. Let me see. How many women rabbis are there? 'Cause
Roseanne,
I never.
she's a rabbi. Do you
Oh,
know that?
1,500. Who
Wow.
Roseanne,
is Roseanne Barr one? Let's
she's
see.
a Jewish rabbi.
Let's see. Let's see if Roseanne Barr is one. No, Roseanne Barr is not no rabbi.
Yep. Yeah, she
No,
is.
she ain't.
Yes, she
Says
is.
why she was born. It says why she was born into Jewish family and has
I was
expressed
literally
a
in a space
connection.
with her. I was literally in a space with her the other day. She was all talking like she was a Jewish rabbi. Like literally, she was going into detail on a whole bunch of shit. Like she's a Jewish rabbi. She doesn't practice, but she's a Jewish rabbi.
What?
You know, people say a lot of shit just like that Bitcoin, right?
Right?
Let's see.
And she most of the time full of shit.
Maybe she got it. Maybe she. How do you become a rabbi? Let's see what the criteria is.
I thought you had to be a male.
Well, to be
Unless they
a
were
minister, that's easy. Anybody can be a minister. Being a rabbi, I think you have to actually go through some shit.
I would think.
Yeah, yeah. It says it can be long and demanding. And she's supposed to, and the only way is okay, so if she doesn't practice it, she's not a rabbi. You have to be practicing it to be a rabbi.
I would think he would have to be. I mean, practicing something,
That's what it says. I want to
whatever
make sure that
faith
it
you
says.
believe in. No, I never would have guessed.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that either. She eat pork, don't she?
I don't think you know, but like as far as I know, like she's been one not to play by the rules. So I would say, yeah, she likes bacon burgers. But that's just my
Yeah,
personal
you
opinion.
can't. Yeah, you can't. Being a rabbi is not like being a minister. You know, you can go to. I'm a minister. I'm a certified minister, bro. I can own a church. I have my certificate is right over there. You know, certificate of ministry. Yeah, I mean, and I curse and I drink. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fucking practicing. And I mean, I do practice because I have my own, I guess you can say, congregation when it comes to shit. Hell, we can call this a congregation. Shit, I don't know, whatever. But anyway,
Right?
I am a certified minister, and it's not hard to be a minister at all. But I
We're
thought
all
as far as
doctors.
being a rabbi, I thought as far as a rabbi though, that's different. Like that's like you can't just be like, hey, I want to be a rabbi and fucking eating a cheeseburger with bacon on it.
Right?
You know what I mean?
If you want to get technical, like this, like the discussion that we had a long time ago, we're all doctors because you don't need a license to be a doctor. All a doctor is a person that's teaching something, and we all teach each other shit, so we're all doctors in a way.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, look at the etymology of it. Look at the here. I bring up the word etymology on that. Look, that's a good point because it's the same thing with scholar. You look up the word scholar, you'll see what it was. So look here's the. I mean, I love definitions, man. I be talking about definitions all the fucking time. So let's see, 1300. Let's see what's the oldest. So here we go. From medieval Latin, doctor, religious teacher, advisor, scholar. That's why I've mentioned the word scholar in the first place. Um, doctor, religious teacher, advisor, scholar, in classical Latin, teacher, agent, none from dossier to show, teach, causes to know, originally make to appear right. So I actually had a discussion with my wife about this, right? I said that, yo, I can go around saying to call me Dr. Rebirth or Dr. Tyrone or something, right? I say, you can call me that. And she was like, why would you say that? You don't have, a PhD. And I said, well, because I looked up the etymology months ago, and I was like, well, guess what? I do teach people stuff. I do have a cause to know, and I do show people everything that I that I know. So technically, I'm a doctor by etymology. But just think about this for a second. You walk into a room with a whole bunch of people that have a PhD, right? And these people are supposed to be people that have knowledge, information, right? They're supposed to be, intelligent on what they're speaking about. And you're all new to the game, right? And you walk in there and they say, hey, my name is Dr. Steve, and hey, my name is Dr. Kevin, and my name is Dr. Richard. And you come in there and be like, yo, I'm Dr. Vibe. And you're like, who? Dr. Little Vibe. Huh? Who the fuck is Little? What school did you go to? I didn't graduate from a college. But how you a doctor? Well, if you know the etymology from 1300, you would know that a doctor is somebody to show, teach, cause to know. And they be like, well, that doesn't mean nothing now. Well, I don't care what it means to you right now. I'm telling you what it means to the people that originally came up with the word. Knowledge is power. Holler back at me. I'm Little Vibe, Dr. Little Vibe. You know what I'm
It
saying?
sounds like a
They just
source.
think about how people would look at you and think that you're being an asshole, but all you're trying to do is just say, hey, I'm using this word and you're questioning me about my education. Why don't you understand what word I used in the first place before you question me where my education came from? Obviously, my education came from somewhere good enough to know that a doctor is not what you think it is because you have a PhD. Not to put anybody down that has a PhD, but that's my point. Language and understanding of a language can change a whole context on people's stuff. You're being an asshole because you're asking me nicely where my school is at. So now you're trying to question where I got my PhD at just to see what level I am compared to you, right? Because it shouldn't matter what school I went to, right? I mean, at all. A
Well,
PhD should
no, and
be
not if you go by that
worthy anywhere,
definition. Yeah, if
right?
you go by that
A
definition, yeah.
PhD from Oxford shouldn't be any different from a PhD from Georgia Southern University. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's
Because
facts.
because education is education. You can have a shitty teacher at Oxford and have a great ass teacher at an elementary school that can teach students way better than any college professor.
Yeah.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
Yeah.
But when you walk in a room
Listen,
full of educated people that have an ego mind and an attack on trying to be smarter and better than everybody, when you walk in there and they start introducing themselves by titles and names, and you're like, well, shit, everybody else is talking about being a doctor. Shit, I know what I am too. I'm a doctor too. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then
but the whole
you come
concept
in there.
sounds weird.
Yeah, it sounds weird, but it sounds weird because that's not what's normally accepted in the language. But
Right, right.
when we give power back to the original language, we won't be confused on what we speak on. Because if now we walk into that room where we're all in that room at one time, and somebody says, "Hey, Rebirth, who are you?" Well, I'm Rebirth of the Word. And they're like, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh, well, I'm an author." And then I say, "Well," and then they say, "Well, you know, how much, how many books have you written?" "Why are you worrying about how many books I'm writing? I'm an author." You know what I mean? And now if they say, well, if they say, "Ooh, you're an author. Which books have you written?" Now the interest is there because now they're like, "Ooh, you've written books." But the language, people will say, people will they're gauging on how much respect to give you. You know what I'm saying? Because the next question is, are you a self-publisher or did you get published by somebody? You know what I'm saying? Because they want to know more and more to base themselves off of you, right? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because that's usually because nobody really cares about who the fuck anybody's publisher is. Nobody really cares about how many books you've written unless you're interested in the book. If you're interested in, if you say something like, "Oh, you written books? What kind of books you wrote? What's your genre? What it is? Not, oh, how many books you wrote." You know what I'm saying? Because there would be questions like I know you even know that vibe when you say you make music. People will probably ask you, how many albums have you put out? Where can I listen to your music? Well, you can listen to his music everywhere. It's not hard. Everybody knows that people listen to the same. You got Pandora, you got Spotify.
Spotify.
Hell, it's not even hard to click on somebody's name and see that they have the link on there. People just play stupid. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? If you really, really
Yeah.
pay attention to some people, they really do play stupid. So right there, that's a good vibe. Um, in the late 14th century, after when it first came out. The meaning holder of the highest degree in a university, one who has passed all the degrees of a faculty and is thereby empowered to teach the subjects included in it, is from the late 14th C. Hence, teacher, instructor, learned man, one skilled in a learned profession. But that means you got to have a PhD to start teaching people. So that means everybody below that, you don't have the right to teach anybody. That's basically what they're saying, right? Then it says the sense of medical profession, person duly licensed to practice medicine, right? And that's when you was talking about everybody doesn't need to be a doctor. And this comes from the 14th century time. And then though this use was the word was not common until late 16th. So even 200 years later, it didn't become common. Then it says the transitional stage is exemplified in the Chaucer's Doctor of Physique, and then it gives you the Latin version. So you can
But
see right
doctor,
there, yeah,
but
doctor.
doctor's not always just medical.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's for the medical professional part. This
Okay.
part right here.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what you want to know what's really crazy about this part is I'm glad you said that. Okay, the word was replacing native word leech.
Wow.
So the native
Leech
word for doctor was leech. Now what does a fucking leech do?
Stuck
sucks
out.
blood.
Now let's see what this. No, okay.
Oh no.
We all have a concept of what a leech is. Now let's get in deep into it. What does a leech really do? Let's see. What does a leech do to the human body? Does to the human body? I know it clean. I know it helps the body with blood clots.
Toxins, right? Isn't it
Yes,
toxins too?
some stuff like that. Wait, let me see.
Shit.
And can they be bad? And why? Let's see. Let's see what it
They
says. This
they
is
can pull out toxins and whatnot. They do work on like blood blisters and other like lesions and whatnot. So like they do medical uses. I mean, they use maggot. They use freaking medical grade maggots to pull out infections out of like fucking infants and shit.
yeah. I know they're good for medical uses. Oh, that's the wrong thing. I know they're good for medical usages and stuff like that because they clear out certain blood clots and toxins and stuff like that. What I wanted to know, like, what would okay? Here we go. A leech bite from a peer-reviewed article. I wanted to know if over time, just like doctors, do they harm the body? Right, like because some people say when you go to a doctor, they only prolong your ailment. They don't really heal
Treat
you.
your symptoms.
Right?
They don't make any
It
money
says
curing it.
they have over 600 species of leeches.
Oh,
Um, See, this is the
600.
type of stuff. This is the type of stuff that I like to learn. Yeah, so it is a peptide that inhibits the thrombin catalyst conversion of fibrogen into. Hold on. Okay, leech attachment sites may bleed more than normal wounds and can continue to bleed after removal of the leech. That's not good for some people, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn, this is crazy. Hold on. I want this to read it because I can't.
Okay, how do
Oh,
we
here we go.
get doctor to leech again?
Can y'all hear that? No, y'all can't hear that, huh?
I hear nothing.
Yeah, I don't hear it on the
Yeah,
board
no,
either.
it's not playing it out.
Dang, man. Oh man, I tell you, man, technology be getting on my nerves. It be getting on my nerves. It should be on air, on air, on air. Anyway, so basically it says, oh shoot, it says while most leech bites are external, leeches can attach eternally, and patients will present with estaxis, hematemesis, hemotysis, and vaginal bleeding, hemoptysis, rectal bleeding. Like, that's
Ooh,
some crazy shit, bro. Patients may present with recurrent, I don't, nasal leech infestation. Imagine one of them things getting in your nose, man.
Sheesh.
Hell no.
Sheesh.
Hell no.
Um, let's see.
Doctor to leeches. Is this another rabbit hole?
No, I just wanted to see what because it said though it said so leeches do heal the body, so I guess that's one of the reasons why it was a substitute for it. The
Huh.
doctor was now a leech, so now when you go to a medical doctor, you can be like,
Leech.
yeah,
Hey, Leech. Hey, Leech John. How you doing? What?
yeah, and
Hey, you
he'd be like, what
sucking
the
the
hell you
sucking the money out of me.
just just for you to get healed,
Yeah.
or I healed by what some people may say or whatever. I don't know,
You
but yeah,
don't get healed.
that's interesting. That's interesting. See, we learned something. We learned two things today from this discussions. We
Wow.
learned that there's 1,500 different female women rabbis out there, and we learned about Dr. or Professor Rachel. I think that was her name.
Rachel Edelman.
I don't know. Yeah, and then we learned that there are 600 species of leeches, and that the native word for doctor was leech.
Wow.
Don't forget about Roseanne Barr.
Oh yeah, and Roseanne Barr is supposed to be a rabbi.
Hey, knowledge is power, right?
Hey, but that's interesting though, right? Because I never knew that. I didn't know there was a female rabbi.
Yeah,
I
same.
thought
I
that was actually
never would have guessed.
forbidden. I knew there was like in
Right.
the South, in the Christian churches and what Baptist churches and stuff like that. They people um you'll see women pastors and stuff like that. But I know in the Bible or in some texts at least they say people weren't there. So you were talking about Nathan earlier, uh Vibe, and
Oh yeah, what's up?
Nathan's in here now. He said leeches were used as a common medical practice by doctors. So yeah, this definitely he catching on with it too. That um do that. Now check this out. He always coming with the fire. Temple virgins were man.
What?
If hold on. Let me send this fool a message. Let
Yeah,
me get his voice in here. I'm about go to Twitter, Nathan. I'm about to send you an invite real quick, man.
the
Bring your
oracles.
ass in here.
I think he's referring to.
If he can come in here. We'll see. Oh man. This stuff ain't loading like it's supposed to. Everything's going going crazy slow on my side today. I think it's because of that storm that's about to come in. Hey Nathan, I'm about to send you an invite, man, on your Twitter. So if you want to join in and speak some of your mind, I'd love to. Look at him. See, I
Come
told you.
on, come
Bring
on,
yours in
Nathan.
here.
You know you
Bring
want to
your ass in
drop some knowledge.
There you go.
here.
Bring it on. More the merrier.
Hey, while we waiting for him, I got to play a song real quick from Lil Vibe while we waiting for him. We're gonna take a 5-minute break, y'all. Take a 5-minute break and get you
Okay.
some drinks. We're gonna wait for Nathan to bring his little knowledgeable ass up in here and teach us, man. When he gets going, bro, I was telling uh uh God damn it, Vibe about that last time when he joined in here. I told him, I said, man, when why is this saying this shit? When Nathan get rolling on this information, bro, it's hard to stop him, bro. He's really good at what he does, man. Like I love the.
Yeah.
I know why that thing probably didn't play now.
What's that?
I know why. Because I didn't hit the
Share?
song. No, yeah, the share sound with it. So we're gonna play. Hold on, we're gonna play a 5-minute break. I'm gonna get I always support Little Vibes music, man. This is one of my favorite songs because it's about ambitions, man. It's just being ambition about having ambitions about what you have, and you. Oh man, look at your dog. What's up, little dog? Yeah,
His
we
name
had.
is
It's a,
Tesla.
but yeah, his
No,
song
not
is
the
really good,
car or
man.
the band.
He oh shit, let me make sure I bring the thing up again. Yeah, he had his music. I love. Yeah, include music. Share tab. I like his music, man. His music is amazing. I'm just gonna play this real quick. We're gonna take a 5 minute break, get some water, get some drink.
Okay.
We're gonna wait for Nathan to come in here. Nathan, hurry up, man. We waiting on you, brother. We waiting on you, brother. He's probably setting up his computer right now. But we're gonna just play a quick song real quick. Let's play. I was playing it earlier when I was driving. Let's see. See.
All
I don't
right,
want it
let's
to be
hear it.
too loud.
Es fresco, tranquilo.
Oh,
Ustedes
you
pueden
can't hear it,
aceptar mi
huh?
negocio
Yep,
o aceptar
You
las
you can hear it?
consecuencias.
Yeah,
I
that's
hear it.
Mexican OT.
Oh yeah, I can't hear it.
Plata
I don't know why.
That's like Mexican OT.
o plomo.
I had to text.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Ustedes eligen.
It's
OT's fire
I
too.
hit hell yeah. I don't know what. Why is it? So why is it? Hold on, let me see. There we go. Yeah, because I can't hear it through my side for some reason. I don't know why. I'm
Really?
gonna have to figure it out. So I'm just gonna just wait for that. Oh, there we go. Hey Nathan, hold up, man. We're gonna play this song real quick, man. Just a little bit of it. We'll play about 30 seconds of it real quick, just so you can go. I know when you get your mind going, but this. That's the song right there. That's the song right there. That's the song. So yeah, check him out, man. Check him out, man. I don't know why I can't hear it on my side, man. It sucks, man. I'm gonna have to figure this crap out again. Probably get another cord or something because it's just not connected. But there's Nathan right there.
What's up?
Yeah, you was when you was saying that vibe about Mexican OT. Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's I like his shit too, man.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I was riding around earlier, playing your songs. I have your song in my playlist.
Oh,
And I
what's up, bro?
shuffle, so that one definitely was going. Yeah, that definitely was on there. I was like, man, yo, look, yeah, it's like I got your whole. I got like 6 or 7 of your songs on steady rotation on one of my playlists. You can actually look at my playlist on Spotify. I have a created playlist on there. So
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
but Nathan, what was you saying about the temple virgins were sometimes raised to become prophets?
Yeah, they were raised to become prophets, or prophetesses would be a better word. So you have the Virgin Mary. She was raised as a temple virgin. She was recorded as a dove in the temple in the proto-gospel of James. In the biblical canon, she's recorded as being offered to the temple. So she's mentioned also receiving visions describing her birthing of Jesus. So for one to receive visions and to discuss them would be regarded as a prophet or a prophetess, making her a prophet or a prophetess in her own right. Otherwise, say if this story is even true, Joseph would have most likely rejected her, as most of Judaism was very male dominated, except for some Essene sects. Not all. A lot of Essenes were celibate men. So you had all different sects, such as the Therapeutae, which embraced females and males. They had female teachers and rabbis, if you will, which was the term that they used for their teachers. But they would also have, in a sense, within their building, holy building where they would meet up basically and be secluded from society, they would have separate gigs, if you will, for the males and females. So the females would teach the females and the males would teach the males. But then you had, say, the John the Baptist movement. You had the Mandaeans. Females would teach men and women. So they are recorded to be possibly of the 1st century, maybe, but the beliefs have changed. They're not the same as the original John the Baptist movement. Then you also had Simon Magus, who was a Christian, Gnostic Christian, who rescued his wife, Ellen, from a brothel. She rose up through the ranks and became second in charge of the Simon Magus Gnostic Christian movement, if she was real. I think she was most likely real, most likely edited into myth and mythologized for sure. A lot of these texts have been mythologized. There were drugs being used in these temples. Cannabis was used in hell to receive visions from God. We found this in an ancient 5th century BC era Jewish temple that was found with a shrine to Asherah and to Yahweh, his husband and wife. So you had different sects of Judaism. During Jesus' time, you had the Sadducees, Pharisees, Essenes, different forms of Essenes, the Zealots, different forms of Zealots. Some were Essenes, some were Zealots. You also had the Syriac Jews, Samaritan Jews. You had Canaanite Jews, which would be, that's kind of obscure scholarly term that would be more referenced, if you will, for Jewish people with Canaanite ancestry. Now, to be fair, all Jewish people have a Canaanite ancestry, as Hebrew is a Canaanite language. It's the last speaking Canaanite language. So the Canaanites also had priestesses. We had temple virgins in their community as well. Sometimes the children that were born from these temple fertility rites were sacrificed to gods such as Yahweh and Baal. This is what the land of Gehenna is. So that was recorded in the Bible, that Canaanites would sacrifice their children to Baal. Not just Baal, though. They sacrificed to Yahweh as well. Yahweh was a Canaanite god. So El was as well. We had different forms of Elyon, the Most High God. We had some that would sacrifice to him. We had Canaanites that rejected human sacrificing and animal sacrifices that were also vegetarian, similar to many Essenes. Some Essenes were also pescatarian, only eating fish, believing that fish didn't have sex, and they just simply split in half and multiplied. They were a gift from God. The Cathar, which were a medieval Gnostic Christian sect, carry on this belief. So it was a common belief all the way to the medieval times. Not everyone accepted this belief, though. We again, different forms of different religions always. This is always the case. So Judaism, again, you had all these multiple different sects. So rabbis that were mostly made up of the upper class of the nobility, such as the Herodians, the Pharisees, and Sadducees. There's another sect too. They're kind of arguably either an offshoot of the Sadducees and Pharisees. Forgot their name. So it's on my channel. I mention all the different various groups. So because there's so many groups of Judaism, I'm not going to be remembering every single sect. So we had some that did have female rabbis. Yes, we had some that embraced equality, but not all. We had some that were disgusting, if you will, in today's eyes, such as the Pharisees. They believed that the temple virgins and the Herodians as well, different types of Herodians, some believed that King Herod was the Messiah or his sons would be the Messiah. Not all of them even believed in the Messiah. Now, the point of the temple virgins was one of these virgin holy brides will be raised by nobility, married to the upper classes, and give birth to a Messiah figure. So they would marry the kings. High priests were often at times kings of Judea. So messiahs were often seen as kings. Cyrus the Great, a Persian Zoroastrian king, was also seen as a Messiah figure to the Jewish people. Not all had this belief again. So some Jews rejected Jesus, some favored him. We had different nations of the time following Jesus too. This included Jews. We had Greek-speaking Jews that couldn't even speak Hebrew or Aramaic. We had Jews that could only speak Aramaic and Greek because Hebrew was mostly spoken by the nobility. So we often have times with Jesus, say on the cross, if you read the actual text, the original text, not the English shit, but the actual Greek, it will state that he's speaking in a strange dialect, so they can't understand him, for instance. So this also supports an educated Jesus theory. Him going to the temple, he was challenging the temple virgin practice. So you can take this as Jesus going to the temple saying, look, I'm the Messiah, or he's standing up to the temple prostitution rites that his mother was a victim of, which is why you see him in the temple whipping the priests, calling them lay-stays, meaning predators, pirates, rebels, bandits of their own people. So predators of children. This is why you see children in this text. In Matthew 21:12 to 17, the children shout, save us. Save us from what? Save us from forced marriages. So this is what Jesus was actually crucified on the cross for. They strung him up naked. Crucified victims were strung up naked. So we also have the text that Jesus states in the Gospel of Matthew, those who harm a child drown themselves, tie a heavy millstone around the neck. But to be fair, that text can also translate to whoever leads a child astray or a young one. We have alternative translations in every bloody text. The whole Bible is full of spelling mistakes. It's horrible in that sort of sense. Well, I translate it. I have to make sense of that crap, and it's hard because you're always coming across spelling mistakes all the bloody time. Also, some of the words that they use, a lot of time you find child, it's child slave that they're using. You have Jesus healing a child centurion slave lover, which was a common practice. A centurion, if you will, or even a commander of men would adopt someone basically, and it would be like a father-son sleeping bond relationship. Weird as hell. It didn't always happen, though. It was frowned upon. We had Plato, for instance, a Greek philosopher. He wrote against this shit. He also didn't mind brotherly arms in relationships with men, but he didn't like it when they took on a young lover. He thought that was dirty. So this shit did happen. The rabbis in the Talmud record a virgin girl could remain a virgin at 3 years old and sleep with her. So these were a part of the temple virgins that we passed on to a priest. When that priest died, passed on to another priest and expected to carry on a Messiah. She was raised in the temple traditions. They were raised in drugs. They were receiving drugs to receive visions. This is why Jesus says, do not take anything from the courtyards. He stops them. The vessels being taken, which is hidden in some English text, these vessels would be the temple narcotics, cannabis, frankincense, myrrh, what they would use for the holy oils. It would also be arguably also their Torah, their text. It could also be holy relics, for example. We don't actually know. This is still all speculation mostly, but we do know that they were using cannabis. The Zoroastrians that were claimed to visit Jesus, they brought him frankincense and myrrh. Well, they were the biggest drug dealers of the ancient past, basically. They were known to inhale cannabis and opium to receive divine visions from God. So they also had female priestesses, if you will, in some Zoroastrian sects, but some Zoroastrian sects were also male-dominated. So we have a strange tradition. We have, for instance, the oracles in the ancient Hellenistic culture. They would inhale the volcanic ashes. They will also inhale cannabis, and they will do this in caves. This is one reason why Jesus states in the Gospel Matthew 21.12, you have turned this place into a spalion, meaning a den, a grotto. Spalion also in reference to basically meaning a cave. So a grotto was a cave with a natural reservoir or a river or just a simple cave where oracles would use drugs. So they were drugging up these young girls. So again, with the Talmud, we come across some nasty shit in reference to virginity of the ancient past, and how old were girls back then. They were 13 to 14. We have a lot of raiding going on in Canaanite cultures. We have in, say, Genesis 13.14. Or might be 14.13. Pretty sure it's 13.14. In the Greek text, it states that Abraham the pirate, meaning Abraham the pirate. So this is why he's saying he's taking the women, dividing them. So we have different stories again regarding Abraham as well, with the sacrifice of Isaac, for instance, regarding sacrifice, child sacrifice. And sometimes, again, those child sacrifices were also out of those fertility rites. But with the regarding the Abraham story, that's something different. But we have different versions of that Abraham story. We have angels getting involved in other texts. One angel is a king of the underworld, according to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Then we have another version of that Abraham text in the Dead Sea Scrolls as well. So we had different variations of Judaism. So nothing is the same. So when people talk about Judaism, it's like, what group are you talking about? This is the same with Christianity. There were multiple different forms. Most people aren't educated in language or the text, or let alone the history. And this is why I tell people to look at actual history, look at all these individual sects and their beliefs, because you find their beliefs are different. For instance, the Sadducees that hated Jesus, they only accepted the first 5 books of Moses. They did not accept any other text. They rejected everything else. They did not believe in an afterlife. They believed once you were dead, you were dead. They did not believe in a Messiah. They did not believe the tradition of the temple virgins of bringing out a Messiah, but they profited from it and in turn married these girls because they were still seen as sacred. And not just sacred, but an honor to achieve. So an honor to have one as property. So again, these were young girls raised 3 to 14 years old. And they were even asked to ask for their interpretations of what they would receive in their visions. They would wave the temple veils for the priests for themselves to be hidden when they received answers from God. They were in charge of a temple practice. So if you want to call that a priestess, it quite basically is. They were servants of God. We have temple prostitutes in almost every religion in a sense. We also find this practice still carry on in the Hindu religion, some forms of Hinduism. Again, different sects of every religion, basically. So there's some 2 cents on it. So yeah, definitely, this was all regarded with medicine as well. Some of these fertility worship rituals were done in proposition to heal you, to say cleanse your spirit. Sometimes it was also seen as, depending on the culture, you sleeping with a god or a goddess, or having a chance of giving birth to a god, a demigod. You know, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Let me ask you, Keith, what you think about what Nathan just said.
Oh my gosh.
The big one.
Yeah, that was a mouthful. You're pretty damn knowledgeable, I'll tell you that. That
I
blew my
I
mind.
told you. I told you. I told
Yeah.
you. Nathan is. I told you Nathan
After
is
I had to
deep in this
translate,
stuff, man. Like he,
that's when my
What was that?
goodies started arriving. Once I start translating, I realized a lot of my old stuff was wrong. When I start looking at the actual text and I start looking at all these different sects, I'm like, hang on, wow, you know, it's crazy.
yeah, it
Especially
is
when you look
crazy.
at the build up of the canon. A lot of people don't even realize this in regard to the original Jewish Bible, if you will. We don't have those original texts. We have copies of them, which is the Septuagint, but what copies are they copied from? Because there were different forms of Judaism, not all were down for their text to be translated and pissed off into the wilderness and lived in caves, which became the Essenes. You know, they also didn't want nothing to do with the, well, not all of them, some of them did, but a lot of them didn't want anything to do with the temple practices. They rejected the temple as completely corrupt, and some of them rejected the temple virgins, but some also sent their children there because it was a temple tradition of being raised and being accepted by God. So one could arguably, so what this community would be doing if they sent Mary to the temple as a temple virgin, they were arguably sending her in purpose in order, in high hopes for her to give birth to a Messiah. But again, the Messiah could be anything. It could be someone who just helped the Jewish people, who liberated them, or it could be someone that's a king, someone who's converted the whole world to Judaism, or even someone basically who is made Israel or Judea the greatest nation on earth. So depending on the sect of Judaism, you had different forms of what a Messiah was. So it's pretty interesting. And then you had the Zealots, they were making their own messiahs and choosing anyone that basically would stand up against Rome, think this guy's going to win, and then they'd get their asses kicked and they'd make a new messiah, you know? So
Wasn't he believed to be a warrior though?
some,
Messiah?
that was a later belief, though, to be fair, because if you look at the very first Christians, they were non-violent, they were pacifist. So this was especially true for Gnostic Christians. Many of them chose to walk into the fires when they were told, convert or die. They just walked into the fire because they seen their loved ones sexually assaulted, abused, burnt alive by the Catholic Church. You know, the Bible that people read today was a Catholic Church invention. Before this, 200 years before that, Marcion, a Gnostic Christian, compiled the first Christian canon. So we got the 10 letters of Paul from him. So after his death, we have no mentioning of 14 letters. And we know now that only 7 are considered authentic. And a lot of Paul's story is being shaped by Marcion. My phone just, oh no. I'll join on laptop.
oh, his thing is dying.
Oh,
Uh, he was getting it good too. He was getting it good. I told you, Nathan
yeah.
be good. He knows his stuff, man. He spends a lot of time researching religion, the history, the background, and you know, when there's anything, he has a book out, Gnostic. I have his book. I've read it. It's a really good book, man. He gives you the basics of Gnosticism, and that's what That's what people basically need. They need the basics before they can even explain anything else. If you don't know the basics, and it's hard to explain what the basics is, but I guess the best way. Hold on. Let me close this out. I think the best way to explain the basics is being able to have a conversation flowing without making up stuff. And the only way you can tell if somebody's making up stuff is by asking them for sources. Like Nathan, he'll give you the source. He'll tell you where to go look it at. I mean, everybody's going to mix up scriptures and numbers and stuff like that. To me personally, I don't memorize any scripture. I know what the Bible says in a general aspect, but I don't know the scriptures
Right.
because I think that's just a waste of time for me. I don't need to go know the scriptures. If I want to know, I just go
Yeah.
type it in whatever it is I want. Hey, where in the Bible
Chat
does it talk
GPT.
about the creation? Yeah. Or Google. Google was an easy source for that too. It just took you longer to find the information, right? You had to
Yeah.
go through more
Bunch of
more
different
steps
entries.
to find it. Yeah, but with ChatGPT, you know, I don't want to say ChatGPT is the all-going source. It's going to give you the basics of this stuff. It's not going to we got Colt in here now waiting for him. We waiting for Nathan to come back in here. But yeah, man, here, I want to put you on mute real quick. Colt, while you're driving, I can hear it. It's cool. It's cool. We just got you on mute. He's just in there chilling. He be hustling at night, man. He be working his ass off. Yeah, he good. See, he over there chilling. We got a whole crew in here. right now. We waiting for Nathan to come in here. His battery died. But we'll keep this going for like another 20 minutes, you guys, and then we'll close it down. How that sound? Another 20, 30 minutes? Okay, yeah, cool. Another
Sure.
20, 30 more minutes. Good conversation. This is good because, you know, this is what the world needs, people to have discussions like this and getting together and sharing what they know. If I want to know anything about
I'll be right back.
Gnosticism, all right, no doubt. I'll hit Lorenzo up, a cult corner right there. I'll hit him up. He's into that really good. He's a bishop also, and he's really he has a lot of knowledge to the point where you can sit and listen to him to talk, just like how you listen to Nathan talk, how you listen to me talk, how Vibe talk, how we always having discussions. We all have a piece of the history. Here we go. Look, a whole goddamn table full of. Look at
Hey
it.
guys, my phone died.
Boom.
You got my
Yeah.
laptop going.
There you go.
Good way. Always got something back up. Sometimes my charger plays havoc and didn't get a fast charger again, a new one.
Hey, we got Lorenzo in here with us, Nathan.
Oh, wonderful. Much love, Lorenzo. Good to see you.
He over there
The whole
driving
thing
right
going.
now.
That's cool.
He's probably doing.
I like
He's
massive
probably doing
podcasts.
his little thing right now. Yeah. See, so hey, every Saturday, man, I think we should do this, man, around this time. Just have a quick conversation.
Yeah.
We don't have any. We don't
I'm
even
enjoying
have
this
to have a
myself.
subject. You are. I told you, Keith. I told you,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Keith, let me tell you. Keith has been talking about doing this for at least a year now. I mean, at least for a year. He was like, hey, Rebirth, man, if I ever need to try my equipment, will you hook up? I'm like, yeah, we did it one time before. And he was like, man, I just got to
Yeah.
set my stuff. I said, man, we do this every Saturday. I said, bro, if you want to have discussions with us about this stuff, man, we just get on here and we
Sure.
just vibe out. We just vibe out. Hopefully next time I'll be able to play Vibing's music when I get me a new chord. I don't know what the hell. I have new equipment, man, and I'm still trying to learn all this stuff before,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all this is official, but we all get a chance to meet each other and understand. But like I was saying, Nathan, man, I was telling him, bro, I said, man, once you get going, bro, you like a freight train, bro. It's hard to stop you when you come with this knowledge. Because Keith was giving you a lot of credit, man. He was like, man, you know your stuff. And I told him, I said, yo, you really do. Like, if I wanted to sit here and actually gain some knowledge on some stuff, especially about the Bible, and an honest translation from somebody, an honest translation, not somebody that has a narrative to create, but an honest translation, I will go to
What's
Nathan
an
for it.
honest translation? What do you consider
Somebody
an
that's
honest
going to give me everybody somebody
Alternative
that gives me
translations all put in there. I would consider
yeah,
authentic, or I would say for words that, because sometimes I have come across them, there are some Greek words with hundreds of meanings, and it's like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And it's like, I can't put every alternative thing. So what I might do is I might put the ones that actually match there, I think. And then when I actually go release a good copy of it, I'll replace that word with the Greek word, and then I'll put an index of it,
so
of
he's
all those meanings of that word, and say, you choose. Because that's
yeah,
how it was
so
back
he
in the day.
gives you
Like these Christians were sharing their text around. There was no canon in a sense, not until some guy said, "All right, there's a canon," you know. So before that, they were sharing all individual texts around, and it's most likely that we have the only text that we have that can possibly trace back to Jesus' own mouth and through the historical Jesus lifetime, or just immediately after his death, is the Gospel of Thomas. But that could be in its earliest stages, which would just been called the sayings of Jesus. And we have a mentioning, which is interesting, by Saint Irenaeus, the heresy hunter, who mentions about one of his older predecessors using the sayings of Jesus called the Logia, which could have been basically the earliest form of the Gospel of Thomas, meaning that it was likely put together before the actual text was meant to be written down. So it's like an intro, if you will, before the Gospels, which is interesting. But that's a theory, so it depends. But yeah. I'm one for it comes from the historical Jesus time, basically, like the original text we don't have, at least, because we have a copy, and the copy itself could date to that, but maybe not. The copy could date to the 2nd century. But that being said, all the biblical canon texts date from the 2nd century until later, to the 3rd and 4th, 5th and stuff. But like the Gospel of John, for instance, this little fragment here, I made a little replica of it. That's a 2nd century text. That's the oldest Gospel of John we have. Wow. So a lot of what
How'd you get all of that?
about is lies. This is regarded as seminary secrets. So they don't want to leave their flock. They want their flock leaving so they lose money. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I don't like a lot of apologetics. They lie. They talk bullshit. They don't know what they're talking about. None of them read the Greek text. None of them even looked at the Hebrew text. None of them even tried bothering using a translator or just asking a Jewish person, hey, what does this text mean? Or even asking a Greek friend, say, hey, what does this text mean or something? You know what I mean? Like,
I never quite
language is
understood the
important too.
term.
It's like the term son of God. And this is important too. It means just a human being like me and you with a relationship with God.
I never understood. Quite
Yeah, what was that for
understand
someone else? Sorry, I
the
cut you off. I apologize.
concept of oh shit. No, train of thought lost. Brain apart.
Man,
That's okay.
hey,
It happens. I hate it when it happens. It happens to me all the time. But yeah, regarding Son of God, it just means a human being like me and you with a special personal spiritual relationship with God. So this is a very Gnostic saying. We had Gnostic Jews, such as the Margarita or Margarites. They were 1st century BC era Jews. These were Gnostic Jews. They believed that Yahweh was a fallen angel, basically, in the demiurge, which is funny. So we had different beliefs. So some of the Essenes rejected Yahweh as a devil, and most Jews didn't believe in a devil. So the Pharisees and Sadducees didn't know what Jesus was talking about. Said, when you worship your father who's a devil, he's been a liar and murderer since the beginning. They also state, who's this Sophia in the Greek text, which can translate to who's this wisdom.
Say that scripture over again. What was that scripture? Your father,
Which
the
one?
devil? What, who?
Oh, John 8:44. Yeah, so Jesus says that's the high priest. But who's the high priest God? It's Yahweh. So that was the God of the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Herodians, not the Essenes. The Essenes worship the original God, El Elyon, the Most High God, who is loving and peaceful. But depending on the set, again? John 8:44. So
wait,
Gospel of John, chapter 8. Yeah, 44. So of chapter 8. So Jesus goes up to the religious elites and states that you worship your father who is the devil. He's been a liar and murderer since the beginning. Now, the text can also translate to you worship, what is it? You who are the fathers who worship the devil, or the fathers. It can translate weird, but how I just explained is original text, and someone else is just trying to throw it off because they feel uncomfortable that their God is the devil, or was regarded as a devil by Jesus at least, or Yeshua, or Yehoshua, or Yeshu, whichever term you prefer. But yeah, this is Gnostic. This supports duality. This supports dualism. So this is very Gnostic. Like you also have Jesus stating, woe to the Pharisees or the scribes that hide gnosis. They themselves do not go within. So they don't go within themselves, looking for gnosis, spiritual knowledge. So when Jesus also states the Son of Man is within you, follow after him, achieve him for yourself. This is becoming Christ for yourself. The term Christanos in Greek for Christian means little anointed ones who are trying to be Christ-like for themselves, to be like Jesus. This is very Gnostic. A personal spiritual relationship with God, Son of God, Gnostic. You are gods. Jesus stated that. This is in Psalms. Again, this is Gnostic. Again, different forms of Judaism. But this term Gnostic did not exist then. So this was given to them by the Catholic Church. So before this, they just would have called themselves Jewish or Christian. Good Christians, one's in the know, one's in the pursuit of spiritual knowledge.
That's funny. Here it goes right here. It says, Jesus
sons
said
of
to
God,
them,
meaning angels. As you know, Tyrone angel means messengers. So human messengers.
Right.
We are the angels. So Jesus states that basically in the Gospel of Thomas, when they say women are not worthy of life, get rid of Mary. He states, I'll make her male so she's like resembling you two, meaning that when she's an angel, she won't have sex. So the angels don't have sex. They are spiritual beings. So we have a lot of esoteric mysticism within all these texts, including the Nag Hammadi, including the biblical canon. Gnosis is mentioned like 197 times within the biblical canon alone. And don't rely on ChatGPT when they say, tells you how many times, because I've busted them a couple of times and I've said, no, it doesn't. This word here means Gnosis is Greek. And it's like, yes, you're correct. And then ChatGPT breaks down on me because it's not able to replicate that sort of knowledge, obviously. A lot of stuff like this is hidden. This is 10 years advance. Christians don't want to read the text. They want to be told what to believe and sing 5 songs and a sermon. Listen to it.
No, I don't like being told what to believe.
They're Paulinians. Yeah, that's right. Find out for yourself. It's meant to be your own spiritual, personal relationship with God. It's your own.
There's so many people that don't. They just take what they believe, what they're told, and take it as gospel.
Yeah. And it's funny because in one of the texts I've got, which term it is, but Jesus states that's basically a sin. He says that those who believe in me but don't do my works, they're sinners. They're of the worst. So they're basically wolves in sheep's clothing, you know? That's basically what he's saying.
That's
It's like
crazy.
even when you look at the
That's
Gnostic
interesting.
Christians, none of them persecuted anyone. They never burnt anyone alive. They never touched any children. Catholic
Go
Church
ahead
did that for
and
centuries.
read John 8:44.
Yep. 8.44.
Yeah, that's what I was reading.
That's,
Yeah, you
I
just
have a
had
Bible
read.
next to me. I have
Go
it here
ahead
as a
and
guide
read
because I was
John
translating.
8:44. Jesus told the Pharisees, "You're trying to carry out the will of your father, who is the devil. He's a liar and a murderer from the beginning.
There you go. I'll
No,
start
no, no greater God than Yahweh with the highest body count."
Yeah, he had more. And the funny thing is, Satan, if you believe the story of Satan, and in this context, it was from a Pharisee tradition that they've got the story of Job here in the canon, and they believed Satan was an angel that served Yahweh. So he only kills what's called Job's kids, but that's under
Yahweh
the orders
kills men, women, and children
and children, millions of them. But this
indiscriminately.
text here,
In the
you
animals.
are the children of your father, the devil, and you want to follow your father's desires from the very beginning. He was a murderer and has never been on the side of truth because there is no truth in him. When he tells a lie, he is only doing what is natural to him because he is the liar and father of all lies. But I tell the truth, and that is why you do not believe me. Which one of you can prove that I am guilty of sin? You know, so let's continue on. So blah blah. But long story short, this is still showing duality. And if you look at the Essenes, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls, Deuteronomy 32, we have El Elyon, the Most High God, dividing amongst the portions of the land according to his divine sons. Yahweh receives his portion, that is Israel. So you only inherit something from a family member. So that's showing early Judaism was not monotheistic, but polytheistic.
Right.
But again, we had different versions. We had some Essenes that would
That's
make
right.
sculptures and some that wouldn't. You know?
Yo, check this out. So I went to ChatGPT because like I said, I try to do just a quick search. So of course in the Bible it says the devil never really, the number of people that the devil killed is surprisingly zero. Can anybody say that the devil killed anybody? I don't think so. Not in the Bible, right?
Yeah, I
But then
can
I asked,
disprove that in a text, depending.
okay. Go
Because the
ahead, go
devil's not
with it
actually
then.
mentioned in the story of Job or anything. So just, it's only Satan. And these characters are technically different. So they're not the same being.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
depends
Yeah.
on what version of Judaism or Christianity you were looking at. And what belief. So, as I said, some didn't really believe in the devil. Some believed in the demiurge. And some believed that this God of the Jewish people was a flawed deity. So we had different contexts of the belief of it. Some also believed in that there were different versions of Yahweh, a just one and a false one. So all these different examples, for instance, but yeah.
Now check this out.
Check it out.
I said
Check
how
it out.
many I said how many I said how many people did God kill, right? And it says here
Millions
are
and
some of the major
billions.
now here it goes. It says here are some of the
Genocide.
major events in which God is said to have directly killed people with estimated numbers. The flood, 20 million. Sodom and Gomorrah, about 2,000. Lot's wife, 1. And Onan, 2. Egyptian firstborns, 500,000. Parting the Red Sea, the Egyptian army, 50,000. Pharaoh's rebellion, 15,000. Plague after complaining. Hey, listen, plague after complaining. After you complaining about a plague,
Yep.
he said, fuck it, I'm going to kill about 24,000 more people, right? Then he
Yeah, but
said, oh,
some of
wait,
that
hold
stuff
up.
is by proxy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. But it was God's will, though, right? The snake plague, many not numbered. They don't know that. The Mennonite genocide by God's command, 100,000. Deaths from the golden calf. Remember when Moses came down from the mountain with the 10 commandments, the
Yeah.
two
Yep.
tablets that had the 10 commandments on
About
there.
5 minutes and they lost their
Mo-
shit.
yeah,
I thought it was
yeah.
20 commandments.
Yeah. Yeah,
But we haven't
well, they
loving
say
God.
10. They say 10 commandments, but just think about it. Moses came down and said, "Hey, yo, God, these motherfuckers is still worshiping the golden calf down here. What the fuck we gonna do?" He said, "I got something for their ass. Let's kill about 3 dozen of them motherfuckers."
Yeah. What the hell?
and then hold on. Then David senses punishment, the plague 70,000. Elijah calling down fire 102 in King Herod. Now that's a lot of people, bro.
Yeah.
Total
Yeah.
named or
And there's
estimate
possibly a bit
about
more that you can add if
2.5
you add the
million.
numbers thing. Because in Numbers 32, I think it is, Numbers 31 to 32, you have the scene where basically they take 16,000 virgins under the orders of Yahweh to be forced into marriages. Virgins back then was anywhere between 3 to 14. So this is making God a God of child marriage now. 32 of them are demanded by Yahweh. So these ones are offered amongst the sacrificial animals. So that means that these girls are either be sacrificed or they are placed into the temples as doves, temple virgins. Their fate is unknown. So if they were sacrificed, there's 32 more you can add to that text. You also have
Y'all just
Jafar's
better
daughter
watch what.
as well, because Jafar sacrificed his daughter to Yahweh in Judges 11.30 to 12. And this shows that this Yahweh was a war god. He was a war god of the Canaanites. So
Yeah, Yahweh was
it
known as the
goes
God of
into the
war. What are you
Egyptians as
talking about?
well. You have the Sashu of Yahweh. They were recorded
Yeah.
by the Egyptians as troublemakers, kidnappers, bandits, and mercenaries known to kidnap young women and take them and force them into marriages and concubines. They worshipped their war god Yahweh. They would live in tents. Some of them got taken by the Egyptians, told to piss off and exiled. Some were taken as slaves. Matches some of the Exodus story. You also have the Hyksos, which usurped the Egyptian throne, which also got exiled. Most likely made up the story of Moses and Exodus. These Hyksos were living in the same housing that the Israelites claim to have lived in, as Ramesses II, or the city, at least what they name in the Bible, wasn't named that then. It was named after they kicked out the Hyksos and renamed the city after in honor of that pharaoh. And the Hyksos, they worshipped their god El Elyon. So you had these two Canaanite tribes, one worshipping El, one worshipping Yahweh. But to be fair, some Hyksos were worshipping Yahweh and some Sashu were worshipping El Elyon. You had diverse tribes, again, different beliefs. You have this in ancient Greece as well, choosing to honor one god over another, for instance. This was common in the ancient past, or honor 10. But
Yeah,
I
my
like this one.
God is better than your God. Your God's a
Yeah.
bitch.
Like
That's what people
superheroes,
were
I like
saying.
10 different
I
ones.
know
But,
that's what I would have been saying in
Spider-Man a bit more.
Socrates days, bro. If I was in Socrates days or in Plato's days, I'd have definitely walked up to somebody, man, fuck your goddamn God, man. You a bitch. What you gonna do? I go get my
No
guy right now
biatch.
and be able to, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
You know, and it
Fuck
wasn't
your
really so
God.
much that
And
was the
that's how
problem back
people
then.
was
It
talking.
was when you
Believe it or
started
not, that's
paying
how
bring
people
them
was
into
talking to each other, though, man.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, that's
basically.
I guarantee you, man, people were talking the same way we talk to people today. Okay, some
For
people
sure.
might say it in nice words. They might not call you a bitch. They might call you something more politically correct, I guess, something nice, but still, it still means bitch to me, or coward, or punk, or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck you want to call it. Like I was reading Plato and Socrates books one time, man, and they were literally arguing there, calling each other idiots and stupid, like using that word. And I was just like, man, people in these day and age will lose their mind because they were
I no
doing this
kidding.
in public sittings, bro. Like right in the middle of the city, they'll have like a little bench and some stools and some tables and stuff like that. And two people would sit, or maybe more, even more, would sit there and be like, man, you're a fucking idiot, man. I'm telling you, philosophically, the fucking globe is round. I said globe because it's round. And some other dude was like, no, the fucking world is flat earth, you idiot. And they're arguing. And, you got the old dudes out there, the
Oh
town
boy.
drunks. You got everybody drinking. It was the television of that day. And afterwards, those two dudes, three dudes that was arguing and calling each other idiots and dumbasses were going to the bar to have a drink for the rest of the night and start that shit over the next day. It was like whoever was there the first was the one that was going to start the party, like every time. You know what I mean? It's
Last
not like
one
how we
took the
get on here
bill.
now. Exactly. And what's so funny is that y'all was talking about Yahweh. Like I said, I know a lot of stuff that I type in ChatGPT just to bring up in the quick conversations like this instead of always having to run around. And it does say linguistically that Yahweh was the God of war, and it says it because Yahweh in Exodus 15:3 in Hebrew, it tells you the Hebrew writing right here, but it says Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. And this verse is a part of the Song of the Sea, one of the oldest poetic texts in the Bible, circa 12th to 10th century BCE. The Hebrew literally translates to Ish Nakama, man of war or warrior. This casts Yahweh as a military champion, the one who defeats Pharaoh's army and protects Israel through violent power. Now, I can attest to this and say that I've have read this in different texts and do know at the bare minimum when I say the basics of stuff, the basics is that Yahweh was known as a god of war. And I can say that from absolute
Also, master
certainty
of
because
legions.
yeah, well, yeah, because that's type of
Yep.
that's like yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's
Notice
what I'm
that as
saying.
well.
And it,
Keep that in mind because legions important because many ancient Christians believed at the time that Rome was under the influence of evil powers. Their main army, legions, is the main unit, right? So
mhm.
Yahweh, leader of units, many of them put two together and seen Yahweh as evil. Some Jews believe
Yeah,
this
see,
too, especially in opposition to Rome. Some believe that the Roman gods were basically evil spirits, as the word demon didn't so much exist back then. There were daemons, there were good and bad ones. So yeah, they
yeah.
resulted many pagan gods as evil spirits, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so here it goes. So like shifting Yahweh's character over time. And this is actual facts right here too. It says Yahweh went from a storm war god to a universal creator, judge, and moral force. A lot of people would say God is Yahweh. That's where the connection similarity comes into. Prophets like Isaiah and Micah began emphasizing peace, justice, and compassion. That's actually true too. By the exilic and post-exilic periods, Yahweh became more cosmic and monotheistic, right? Because guess what? He became the universal character, judge, and moral force. There's only one way to become that is by having a monotheistic religion. But see, this is what a lot of people don't understand. And when you read the King James Version, and we'll give this about 5 more minutes. Keith was bringing this up earlier. When you read the King James Version, when I read it, I don't read it as a monotheistic religion. I read it as a henotheistic religion, meaning that they absolutely know that there are other gods, but they know that they're not allowed to one worship those other gods or acknowledge them. They know that it's there, but they're only allowed to worship one God. A henotheistic person knows that they're more than one God, but they're not allowed to worship or honor their God.
Right.
That's why in the Bible it literally says gods. It does have plurals
Yeah.
where God's in there, but they're not allowed to, as Christians or certain Christian sects are not allowed to do that. Go ahead, Keith. I know you want to jump in,
But
brother. I
don't
see you.
don't they say that there's only one God?
Yeah, they say that there is only one God, but
True.
henotheistic religion, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense because, and that's why I say I think they're henotheistic because they understand. They just are not. You're allowed to understand
You're
something,
spot on,
but not
Tyrone.
having to acknowledge it.
Accepted
You
the
know what I
belief of
mean?
other gods, but they chose to worship one god. That's why they say there's only one god, like one god that they worship.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then the idea of there were no other gods except for one, that's kind of a later tradition as it started evolving over time. So you had some in regarding to Gnostic Jews that had that sort of belief that they worship one god as well. The others were angelic beings, Yahweh being the demiurge, either being a lieutenant of the most supreme God and fashions this world, but not quite perfect, but did it for the will of the supreme God, and this world's meant to revert back to its true spiritual nature, or that these demonic beings made this world in rebellion. There was all different sort of beliefs back then. Then you also had the belief that God was ultimately good and bad and ultimate duality and created the world, and it was an image of both good and evil, if you will. So again, you had different beliefs. So pick which one you like. Like it's like not
Here we
all
go.
believed in that Adam and Eve story. That belief came later.
Well,
Yeah,
weren't a
this is
lot
a
of those
Christian. This. Go ahead, Keith. Go ahead.
well, weren't a lot of those gods regional gods? Maybe to
Yes,
cities
some
and
of them were.
stuff
Some
like that.
worship Baal, some worship Yahweh
Yeah.
alongside him, and some worship El. So some were like it's like Baal. Some Baals were cool, some were evil. When you go to Moloch Baal, well,
Yeah.
that really just means child sacrifice Baal. So a Baal that accepts child sacrifice. We find this also in Carthage. The leader of the Carthaginians, sorry, how you pronounce the word, Hannibal. His name was named after Baal, in honoring of Baal. And some Jews would have seen that as honoring Yahweh because Baal just meant Lord as well. So depending what Lord you're talking about. So some texts you had Baal Yahweh, Baal Elyon, example, but you also had texts that had Baal and Yahweh against each other, such as in the Ugaritic text. But again, different beliefs regarding their gods and stories. It's like when you got the Phoenicians. It's really that's the Greek word. They were Canaanites. So you had different beliefs in regards to them. Many of the Phoenicians, if you will, worshipped Baal, seeing him as the supreme god, but not all. Some worship El. Some believed El was both good and bad. Funny enough, some Canaanites rejected El and chose to worship Yahweh because El was too peaceful and hated war. And so like, we can't go raiding, so we need Yahweh. And then when they start getting their asses kicked, they merged in El and Yahweh together, so now you have a peaceful, loving God that's somehow angry and jealous. So
Sounds
Well,
like
this
because they
bipolar
couldn't
stuff.
resolve their conflicts just through conflict alone.
this is interesting. This is from a Christian website, www.christianity.com. Now, I want to point out that when I said henotheistic religion is knowing that they know that there's the Bible mentions more than one God, but they're only allowed to worship one God. That's from my understanding, and this is where this explains it better than how I explained it. Philologist and Oxford professor Max Muller popularized the term henotheism. In contrast to biblical Trinitarian monotheism, henotheism is the belief in one supreme God amongst many other deities. That's exactly what I said. There's one God, right? Amongst other one. They're using the word God and deities as if it's separate. No, it's not. In this Christianity context, God and deity is exactly the same thing linguistically. Okay, the Christians just want to separate that by using God and deity, but linguistically,
Well,
literally the same thing.
in God a
And then
deity?
that's what I'm. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I said that people when you're talking to people, when I was mentioning that PhD thing, that's the reason why I was mentioning in that people would
Oh, that's right. I'm a
use certain
doctor.
words to. Exactly. They'll try to change. They're using words for their own narrative. But me being knowledgeable on the subject, because knowledge is power, I understand that God and deity is the same thing. So I literally read it like this: henotheism is the belief in one supreme deity amongst many other deities.
Can I
Okay.
say
Then it
something?
goes into, yeah, go ahead, brother.
All gods go to heaven.
The
All
word,
gods
word,
go to
word.
heaven.
And hell
No,
yeah.
we're
So
technically gods, so yeah, we will go to heaven. Some belief
not
was that
yeah,
we
we
all go
pray.
to heaven eventually. We had to reincarnate until we purified ourselves, and to be perfected takes
Oh,
multiple
geez.
lifetimes. We all had this belief. We also had beliefs in regarding the soul was not immortal or eternal, that some believed in the resurrection of the dead in regarding the Jews, and that God would judge souls and then diminish ones that weren't worthy and welcome into heaven that would be here now on earth, or others believing that was beyond earth. You had some belief that once you were dead, the soul diminished as it was just air basically borrowed by God. So yeah, multiple different beliefs in regarding that. The eternal soul was very Gnostic, you know, which
Word,
I'm
word.
in
So
favor
here,
of.
let me. I'm gonna. No, you're right, and I'm gonna content. I'm gonna continue because it says in this context. Okay, in this context that they're trying. So this is what I read it as in my narrative. Because you're saying in this context, you're trying to say that it's not your narrative. You already try to create your narrative by separating God and deity in the first place. But we're going to go with their story. In this context, although henotheism, listen to the words that they're using, although henotheism is theistic in its belief about there being a divine source for all creation and humanity, it rejects the view that there is only one true God to be believed in. The roots of henotheism can be traced back to ancient Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, and other religions of the ancient world as Egyptian, Greek, and Roman religions. Though there are many gods in these different religions, the common thread amongst them is that there is one supreme God that is the greater than all the other deities in the pantheon, which is true, right? But that also depends on the location. But let me continue. Christianity is a tritarian monotheistic faith, and although Christians have different theological and political views, since the body of Christ is quite diverse, listen to that. Christianity is a trinitarian monotheistic faith, and although Christians have different theological and political views, since the body of Christ is quite diverse, it rejects the view of there being many other gods. Throughout the biblical narrative, Christ is described as existing before the world began and being God and loving God that gives his life as ransom for many. It is through this message of hope that people can experience true freedom and redemption in the present and hope for what is to come to in eternity. Now, all that other stuff that they said after that doesn't make sense because you're basically saying that henotheism acknowledges that there are other gods, right? And there's only belief in one supreme God. Christianity is basically that because I'm going to go, let's see. Let's see. Let's see.
You know, I like
Let's see.
something you mentioned too, by the way, about how people are a bit silly from separating a word from deity and God. You're 100% spot on, bro, because God is just an English word and it was basically in reference to supreme deity. So, you know,
Yeah.
so
Well, in
because
the
they're all
capital
deities.
in capital God, a Christian thing.
Yeah, but it's the thing is, it came kind of from, it's an English word, basically, you know, so it's Germanic.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah. Yeah.
lot of
Exactly.
Right.
It comes
having
from.
come from the Germans, but well, modern form of it anyway, not the older form, which was Greek, and then later they pushed it into Latin and then retranslated to German and shit like that as well. Also, a lot of Germans became Christian and became Latin speaking. But yeah, long story short, it was a deity, so it was a supreme deity basically. Even the idea of Jesus being there in the beginning, that was a Gnostic belief. So you have that in the Gospel of John. This is a Carpocratian belief. They were the first to come up with the united Trinity. So the Trinity being one, Gnostic. The Carpocratians had the idea of the monad or God or Theos, and the Logos and Zoe, being also Sophia, being God's feminine wisdom, being the Holy Spirit. That's found in the original Greek text of the Gospel of John. So in regards to deity or Jesus being there at the beginning, not all had this belief. You had, say, the Ebionites, Jewish Christians of the first century. They believed that when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, he was adopted by God. You also had Gnostics that believed that Jesus was adopted by God, that his soul was lifted up to heaven and his spirit appeared before the disciples, not the flesh. So again, different beliefs as well in regard to that.
At the same time
He
as
was a
that, you
prophet.
can't forget Melchizedek either, because he's been rumored there to be there from the beginnings, from creation as well.
Yeah, and that's also very a Gnostic tradition. So you had Simon Magus. He believed the first Logos was Moses and replaced by Christ, which is interesting. So some of you had believing that Melchizedek was as well, or even Enoch. So different forms of Judaism. So all this one big Bible canon, so Old Testament now I'm talking about, was not meant to be one book. That was written by all different types of Jews compiled into one bloody book. And that's one reason when they start editing the text, they've taken out parts of the Septuagint and made their own because it became too popular for Christians and too popular for Gnostic Christians. That's why a lot of Christians stopped using the Septuagint. And this is the same for the New Testament, written by diverse different Christian groups and placed into one book. So this is why it all contradicts itself, because they were from different groups. They had different beliefs. It was about control, but the Septuagint's different. That was put together because Ptolemy wanted a complete Hebrew text so he could study it, because he wanted to study all different religions and store it in the Greek library. So for Greeks to study, so they had a knowledge of the rest of the world. And because the Jewish people were all fighting at the time, he's like, look, if you guys don't get together and place all your rabbis into a room and translate it into Greek, I'm going to do it myself, and you will have nothing to do with it. The Jewish people then panicked. They got together. I forgot how many rabbis it was, maybe 82. You might know this one, Fia. But from different tribes, it was 12 different tribes gathered up together, and they translated it into Greek. But to be fair, some of the original Torah, if you will, was a mixture of languages. You find this also in the Dead Sea Scrolls. You find it in Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. And if you look at the old synagogue rules, there's Greek text around it. Synagogue is also a Greek word. So the Jewish people were also borrowing from the Greeks, and the Greeks were also borrowing before that from the Canaanites. So their image of Zeus with the big beard, that was borrowed from El Elyon, the Most High God in the Canaanite beliefs. They were also borrowing from the Phoenicians. They named the Phoenicians, which is Phoenicia, a Greek word, associating with them with the ones who were making their dye for the royal purple and royal blue. And you
There
could
was
wear those.
About the
there was
13th tribe.
syncretism going on, where
Yeah,
they were borrowing from everywhere. Like
yeah. That's in
when
every religion.
cultures blended in with each other, when the population, it's like anywhere in America, when there's different gathering together in a city or whatever, they borrow from other people's traditions or whatever. The syncretism is what it's called. They were sharing
Yeah,
systems of each
same thing
other's
happened with the Jesus movement.
religion.
But yeah, that's spot on, brother, 100%. And you even see, as I said, you find that with the Jesus movement too, borrowing on traditions after his death. And you have to remember, Jesus' followers were all different speaking people. We
Yeah, but
have
weren't there,
Simon following Jesus. He was a Canaanite. Luke was a Hellenistic Jew, meaning that he had a Greek ancestry, and he was a doctor. So
weren't there,
this is
weren't
trippy.
there
So
13 tribes though? Weren't there 13
what was
tribes
that?
and one was one was like, what, weren't there 13 tribes of the Jewish people, and like the one
No, that
Yeah,
was
was
some argue
Jesus. Was
14,
Jesus?
some argue 12, some
Jesus was the
argue
number 13.
14. You know,
Jesus
it's
was
some,
all
supposedly
speculation.
be the 13th one.
Yeah,
I
all
can't
speculation
understand
up to
both
your
of y'all.
belief. Really. I don't actually know. I suggest honestly that a lot of these tribes are just kind of, there were more because they're all Canaanite speaking people that evolved into the Jewish speaking.
But
Sorry,
that's
not
what,
Jewish.
like
I was meant to
what I
say
was referencing
the Jewish
what I
faith.
was referencing to, you were talking about like the writings and like the different, like this, the bunch of different, like bunch of Jewish
Yeah,
people wrote like this person, this, like
yeah.
wasn't there like that 13th tribe, like weren't that, wasn't that text part of like the whole Roman bullshit where it was like cast out? Sorry, my words are fleeting on me right now. Like
That's
I'm
okay, bro.
trying to fight a sneeze at the moment.
Well, I would say every tribe would have their own text and stuff because if you look at the Samaritans, they have their own Torah as well, and that Torah that they have could be older than the Septuagint, which means it's older than the Jewish Bible, which is interesting, meaning that they had an earlier form, and their language itself is an earlier form of Canaanite language compared to
Right,
Hebrew,
right.
which is the last surviving, modern Canaanite language that's in existence today. But yeah, so you had all different sort of text interpretations and beliefs in regarding that, man. So it's hard to say who wrote what, because they were all writing different things. They had no authors back then, really, so much say they weren't writing their name on it. So sometimes these texts weren't written by one person, but written by 3 or 4 different people and just continued on, or held on and added to as well. So one of the original Christian texts we have, I think it might be the Gospel of Luke. I forgot which one it is, but one of the monks that was translating wrote on there, which is kind of funny, called his predecessor a fool, so do not attempt to change the text. I think it's Gospel, I've forgotten. It's one of the oldest texts we have, so it's pretty interesting. So,
Heck
uh,
yeah.
there
I'm
was
gonna I'm
change
gonna
going
end.
on.
Yeah, there definitely is, and that's why I say it's very interesting. All this stuff was all this information is good. Like I told him, I'll tell people all the time, Nathan, you the man when it comes to this stuff.